So we know that the official number of coronavirus cases is not the true number because not everybody is being tested. And so globally, we have about 2 million cases. In the United States, it's roughly 600,000 cases. But these are the official numbers, and the official numbers are only a fraction of the real number of cases. And as we do more testing, the official number will get closer and closer to what we would call the true number, but it still is way off. And depending on which study you look at, it is significantly off. So, what might the true number of coronavirus cases be? And this is important because if way more people have actually had it, it means it's far less deadly. It's a far lower death rate if way more people have had coronavirus. But it also means that it spreads much more easily and it can impact what the plan would be or should be for starting to reopen parts of society and the economy, which Donald Trump seems determined to do and even said at yesterday's press briefing that this week he would likely have some guidelines or ideas about how that's all going to happen. So let's look at a few different data points. There's a town in Germany, Gangelt, and they did a randomized sample of 1,000 residents. They just randomly tested 1,000 people. And they found that 14% of the people in Gangelt had coronavirus antibodies. Now, this is a comically, cartoonishly high number, and there are a few caveats. One is that antibody testing specifically for this coronavirus, meaning SARS-CoV-2, it's still early, and it's possible that some of the people that tested positive for antibodies have antibodies for a different coronavirus, and that the test is not precisely showing antibodies for this coronavirus, combined with Gangelt being a center of infection. So it's unlikely 14% of the world has been infected. Of course, if the real infection rate were 14% in Germany, that would imply as many as 11 million people in Germany had the virus. The official number is only 128,000. If it's anywhere close to accurate, we're talking about drastically different infection rates than the official numbers. But there are multiple reasons to significantly question whether 14% is really the right number. We have another data point from Austria. Austria tested 1,500 people. It was a representative sample of the population. And they found that looking at a confidence interval, somewhere between 0.12 and 0.76% of the population had the virus. Now, that's a pretty wide confidence interval because the official case number in Austria is 14,000. 0.12% of the population would be fewer people. It's only 10,000 Austrians. If you go to 0.76, that's like 67,000 Austrians. So again, we don't know. It seems that according to this test, the true rate in Austria is somewhere between the official rate and 5 times the official rate. Very different numbers than that sample from Germany, where 14% supposedly had the antibodies. Then here in Massachusetts, we have a totally different type of test that was done, a sewage analysis. This is not an exact science. Nobody is pretending that it is. The sewage analysis suggests that a region here in New England with 500 official cases estimates that the real number of cases could be anywhere from 2,300 to 115,000. And again, these are wacky, large confidence intervals. This would imply that the real rate is anywhere from 5 times to 250 times the official number. It's almost impossible to believe that the real number might be 250 times the official case number. That would imply 143 million cases in the United States. Seems inconceivable, but certainly 5x the official number, 10x the official number, maybe 20x the official number if there are really a ton of asymptomatic cases could be possible. That's data point number 3. And then lastly, we have a study which suggests the detection rate is 6%. So if we're detecting 6% of the cases, that would imply the real rate is about 16 times higher than the official rate. Once again, that would suggest we've had 10 million infections in the United States instead of 600,000. So the real answer right now is we don't know. The amount that we don't know about the spreadability and other factors about this particular coronavirus is huge. And every day I'm reading preprints of soon to be published peer reviewed studies. Many conflict with each other. As an example, there's a new one that suggests that the way that coronavirus is initially hurting people is actually by reducing blood oxygen supply rather than being a primary respiratory illness, and that what is initially a low oxygen level in blood is leading to respiratory symptoms. Again, this stuff in retrospect, we're going to figure it out as we get closer to a vaccine, as we continue to learn about which therapeutic treatments will work better. But there is so much that we just don't know right now, and that is part of what makes this so difficult. Which is when we say, "Look at the curve, look at how it's starting to plateau and go down." We don't know the effect of weather. There are conflicting studies about temperature and humidity. There's just so much that we don't know, and we will learn it in retrospect, and hopefully in time for wave 2 and possibly what will be wave 3. If you love feeding your intellectual curiosity, but you're always struggling to find the time, check out one of my all-time favorite apps called Blinkist. Blinkist lets you consume an entire book on your way home from work. They take thousands of popular nonfiction books, condense each one into text or audio that you can get through in just 15 minutes, and you get all of the important core ideas and information from that book. It's perfect if you don't have enough time to do all the reading you want to do, or if you just want to sample a book before you buy the entire thing. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.